Hello and welcome. You're watching Head to Head. I'm Jason L. Jones with UATV. Ukraine could potentially agree on direct gas purchases from Russia, but its price must be in line with European indicators. This is according to Ukraine's Energy Minister Oleksiy Orzhel. He stressed that this should be a fully economic, not political price. To discuss this more, we welcome to the studio Andrian Prokip, energy expert at the Ukrainian Institute for the Future. Hello, and thank you for joining us.
Hello.
So, on November 28th, gas consultations between Kiev and Moscow took place in Vienna. The parties discussed the possibility of signing a contract in accordance with the European rules and agreed to intensify the work. Negotiations continue in the bilateral format and in the trilateral format with the European side. How would you describe the results of this meeting, and was it a breakthrough?
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, parties are still too far from signing an agreement, and there is a risk that we will not have any agreement by January 1st, the day when the current contract expires. So one option is, so there are actually three options. The first is signing a long-term agreement. However, I don't believe that this may happen shortly because both Ukrainian Naftogaz and Russian Gazprom companies, their conditions they would like to have are too different. Another option is if parties sign an agreement about booking capacities, that means that Russia pipes specific volumes of gas to Ukraine on specific days without a long-term deal. And another option is if there is no deal after the January 1st, and that means disruption of gas deliveries from Russia to European Union through Ukraine, and this means some problems in European Union.
As we know, Ukraine dropped direct gas purchases from Russia 4 years ago, understandably after the start of the Donbass war. Now, Ukraine's energy minister says that there's actually a possibility of restoring direct gas purchases from Russia, even though Ukraine is still at war with Russia. How possible and risky is this possibility?
Well, the devil is in details, so that depends what kind of conditions will be in the contract, and will be Russia the only single supplier? Will Ukraine have a chance to resell this gas, or will it be just a small part of Ukrainian imports that Russia will deliver with discount? Because in the case if Russia want to be the single supplier, we are just coming back to the situation we had 5 years ago when Russia used these energy supplies to blackmail, when Russia wanted Ukraine to pay $500 price per billion cubic meters, for 1,000 cubic meters. And for instance, Naftogaz company is not in favor of having any direct deals with Russian Gazprom, and government and presidential office, they say about a chance of having this contract. And it's difficult to say how real is this direct contract with Russia, but I believe if government insists on having such a deal, there may be a political crisis. And today, Minister Orzhel already announced that they're going to announce a competition for CEO of Naftogaz company. So we don't know a lot from all these public statements, but having direct contract with Russia is a very tricky option.
I can imagine. And so you said a competition. What type of competition?
So they announced to run a competition for electing CEOs of Naftogaz company, and another big energy electricity Ukrenergo company.
Okay. And so if a transit contract to transmit gas via Ukraine actually brings in about $3 billion to Ukrainian coffers. The current deal expires on December 31st. How would you evaluate the negotiations between Naftogaz and Gazprom to develop a new agreement on the gas transmit transited through the through the Ukrainian pipeline?
The problem for Russia is that they still don't have enough capacity bypassing Ukraine to fulfill all the obligation on gas deliveries to European Union. So next year they will need at least 50 billion cubic meters of Ukrainian capacities, at least, and the next year it will be less. And this depends how the Nord Stream 2 pipeline will be used under the European regulations. So at least for next 2 years, Gazprom needs Ukrainian pipeline, and this actually is a very important fact that should be taken, that actually is taken into consideration by both parties. However, Gazprom don't want to have a long-term deal. They want to just have a deal for this short period, 2 or 3 years. They will need Ukrainian pipeline. And reasonably that Ukraine want to have a long-term deal in order to preserve like Ukrainian gas transmission capacities to earn money using it. And so it's pretty difficult to make some focus, but actually, personally, I don't believe that we will have 10 years long contract as Naftogaz wants. But I think that 5-year term contract is possible.
Okay, all right. And so if Naftogaz failed to reach a deal, how would the price change?
That's a good question. In the case if there is no transit, gas prices in European Union will increase. However, Naftogaz made a good stocks, more than 21 billion cubic meters of gas in storages in Ukraine to cover the Ukrainian needs in gas. And besides that, the government is introducing a system to protect households from increasing the price. So the price for households will be set on the level 7% less than it was 1 year ago. So for households, there will be probably no impact. But I believe that we will not have a long period of zero transit. I believe it will be between 2 or 4 weeks in the case it happens. So it shouldn't impact on Ukrainian gas prices drastically.
So if Russia resigns to sign a new contract with Ukraine, what kind of other options does Ukraine have?
There is no way out for Russia. They should have some contract for transit with Ukraine, at least for this year. And so there was an option for Russia just to pump gas without any contract. But Naftogaz last week made a statement that if Russia and Gazprom does do this, they will just store this gas in Ukrainian storages because officially there is no, they don't know the owner of this gas. So and Gazprom will have to pump this gas without contract for 3 months, and 3 months without gas, without Ukrainian transit for European Union will be crucial. So many states will suffer from gas deliveries that that is not a solution for Gazprom.
Okay. And regarding the tariffs, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has held a meeting with Ukraine's officials where he stressed heating tariffs for households should be reduced as early as December 2019, so this month. How can heating tariffs be reduced?
Well, actually, there is a mechanism how these tariffs are defined depending on the special price that is defined for these companies producing heat. And however, that is not about government or president, because there is a National Commission for Energy and Utilities who is actually responsible. And this commission should make a decision to change the tariff, because since they set this tariff for some heating companies, from utilities, the price has fallen about 15%. It's like for 1,000 hryvnias. So this commission should review the tariffs. However, there is a question, why didn't they do this? However, maybe that was because the commission itself was in rotation. So some members of the commission left it, then new were appointed. So and there's only 2 weeks as the commission is in force. Probably this will be done shortly. However, there is a risk that there will be an increase of prices in next months because of winter demand, increasing demand, and the high prices. So, but I believe that there was more, rather than PR action, rather than like just taking care about tariffs for utilities for households.
Okay, okay. And the Ukrainian Prime Minister Oleksiy Orzhel noted the need to adopt an appropriate law to reduce the tariffs. What should be written in this bill? What kind of amendments?
Well, you know, if we are talking about adopting bills to reduce tariffs, that is not a market economy. So if we are moving towards markets, we shouldn't talk about laws regulating tariffs. That is the only body responsible for tariffs in the country is National Commission for Utilities and Energy, and they should be responsible. They should develop proposals, but that shouldn't be about the law. That is about people's expectations, because about almost 50% of citizens before the elections expected decreasing tariffs from the new president. So, and I think it's a kind of answer, public answer to people's demand. It's almost impossible to decrease prices all the time because of so many factors.
Yeah. I guess I have one last question. So, as far as other options for Ukraine, rather than going to Russia for the gas and whatnot, is there any viable prospects in renewable energy?
There are, but the question is how expensive these will be. So currently renewables are responsible for about 4% in primary energy supply, and like to have much more renewables you need some time and you need a lot of investments, and this definitely will be reflected in prices for energy to final consumers. So that could be a decision in the long term, but it's not a short-term decision. Even developing Ukrainian gas domestic production is a solution that could be done in a shorter terms, like within 5 years, 4 or 5 years. And currently there is a very hot discussion about renewables because of this boom of renewable electricity production during the last year. So the payments for this electricity, this feed-in tariffs, the payments are increasing, and this is affecting the final price for consumers. So under the current circumstances, when government and president want to have lower tariffs, renewables are not a solution.
Okay. Do you think it could be down the line? Like how long do you think it would take, maybe possibly, for it to kind of be viable, like a prospect? 10 years, 5 years, or?
I don't know, because during the last year we doubled our renewable capacities that we have before that. Sure, that depends on so many factors. That depends on the system of supporting, renewable supporting. That depends on how many people are ready to pay for this. However, since the next year we'll have another system of supporting renewables, and I think it will be a little bit less interest in this area.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for this, for all your insights, Andrian. And that was Andrian Prokip, energy expert at the Ukrainian Institute for the Future. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned with UATV.